Hi, I'm Natasha and welcome to my February energy forecast. Guidance coming in from the divine to support us on any information that we need to know of what's coming in this month of February for humanity, and any teachings or wisdom that wants to come through. So I'm just got my Palo Santo smudging here. To have the courage to swim against the tide, to fly into the wind, to follow your instincts, your heart, your higher mind, to seek out this force for good, this force for love that dwells within the center of your being, to pray for this. If this feels so unreachable, my message to you, begin with a prayer that this is possible for you, that you can even begin to believe in the words that are being shared, that this force for good, this force for change, this force for meeting life head on, but not losing sight of the goodness, the sweetness, the nectar that is calling us into a higher vibration way of living, so that we can rise above these currents that are pulling us down. So I'm being shown there's an energy impacting humanity, which is a bit like a bath plug. When you pull out the plug and then all the water goes down the drain hole. And I don't know if any of you've seen the sinkholes that are in the dams on Earth, where you can literally see water pouring down into a circle with this force and strong currents. And these strong currents that are impacting humanity on the level of our emotions, on the level of our thoughts. It's like mass consciousness of humanity is being pulled down into this weight of fear-based thinking, negative thinking, and like a heaviness. And because it has its own life force to it, it can be quite challenging to recognize when we are being caught up in this emptying of the bathtub energy that's just sucking everything down. So if we're getting caught in the water of the emotions of mass consciousness, we're going to feel like we're being pulled downwards into what you could refer to as your lower self, your fear-based thinking self, your more of your conditioned self or your ego self. And when we are living our life from this place, we can be disempowered to be truly living the life that we're here to live, the life of fulfillment, of freedom, of love, of clarity and forward momentum that's really aligned with our soul's truth, our true nature. It's because when we are tapping into that level of consciousness of fear-based thinking, we become that water that is really hard to pull ourselves out of. And I know, like from personal experience as well, that once I'm locked into that, especially in the past, I can really resonate with this, where it almost felt impossible to shift my mental thinking, to shift my emotions. And what they're showing me is that this is because of what is impacting mass consciousness right now. And in many ways, rightly so. There's a lot to fear, I suppose, in the big changes that are coming for humanity, the challenges that we are facing on a collective, then the wars that we have witnessed, many of us coming out still carrying the teachings and the trauma of the whole COVID lockdown and the disruptor energy that came in that shook our foundation of security. And that's very difficult to let go of. That once your security has been shaken in the way that whole episode of COVID came in and deeply impacted humanity, that we can't trust that everything's just going to unfold as normal. Business as usual was interrupted, was disrupted on every level. And so that's kind of left us a little bit on the edge of our seat of anything could happen. And the environmental issues that we're facing. So all of these challenges and the cost of living, the rising costs of living that are impacting so many of us, quite rightly so. There are many legitimate reasons to live from that place of fear-based thinking. But what I call these three guides at Trinity. What Trinity are trying to show us is for us to be aware of this. Aware that you are being impacted and pulled down by these currents of our shared consciousness, of mass consciousness, into this pulling down into our lower self thinking. And so when you're aware of that, you realise that you have to make a conscious choice to swim against the tide. Some of you may have seen my recent post on Facebook where there's a lovely quote about to be an eagle and to really have the freedom of open flight, you need to be willing to fly into the wind. And there's something about that energy that's needed at this time to swim against the currents of the plug being pulled out of the bathtub and us all being pulled down into lower self-thinking, to take action, to be aware, to choose to exist more from the higher mind, the higher self. And this is heart-based living as opposed to fear-based living. And it is possible to live more and more from the place of higher mind, heart-mind thinking, if we actively seek this, if we actively take action and steps that can help align us to these higher thoughts, higher mind, that can enable us to deal with life's challenges, to not hide from the difficult realities and challenges that we're in, to not dismiss them, to not sugarcoat or look at life through rose-coloured glasses. This isn't necessarily it's not what I feel they're trying to convey. It's that as a collective, we're being asked to be aware of the dynamics playing out and aware of the power that we have as souls, as individuals, and how we choose to respond to life, to respond to the challenges and struggles that we find ourselves in. That this is our one true place of power, that regardless of the plug being pulled and the currents pulling us down into heavy energies, we have the power to choose something different, regardless of what is in our environment. And that power, nothing can take away. There is no power in the universe that can take that choice away from you. How you respond is your power, is our power. And when we choose to respond from a place of love, from a place of self-love, from a place of deep compassion, when we invite more love, peace, joy to be present, no matter how far-fetched that is, that it's possible to feel those emotions with everything that we are dealing with right now. We can meet the truth of the struggles that we're facing and find solutions and find higher action to problem solve the challenges, so that we're not hiding our head in the sand. We can truly be present to reality, but without cutting ourselves off from the support of our higher self, without cutting ourselves off from the support of our heart, without cutting ourselves off from the support of our soul strength, wisdom, courage, that knows how to make a higher choice, a higher response to what we are facing as individuals and as a collective. So the guidance coming in for February, to have the courage to swim against the tide, to fly into the wind, to follow your instincts, your heart, your higher mind, to seek out this force for good, this force for love that dwells within the center of your being, to pray for this. If this feels so unreachable, my message to you, begin with a prayer that this is possible for you, that you can even begin to believe in the words that are being shared, that this force for good, this force for change, this force for meeting life head on, but not losing sight of the goodness, the sweetness, the nectar that is calling us into a higher vibration way of living, so that we can rise above these currents that are pulling us down. And the other teaching that's coming through is, when you're in this process of being aware of how you are responding in this place of power and choice, in the attitude that you bring to each moment, to not judge yourself, okay? To not go into judgment if you do find yourself in the currents going down, if you do find yourself in that heavy, heavy energy. Have deep compassion for yourself, because it's hard. This is also what they want to convey. It is hard right now to be able to swim against the tide, to rise above. Have deep, deep compassion for yourself, the times when you have been for a while in this heavy weight energy that's pulling us down, because it's not easy. And the last thing the divine wants is for humanity to go into this big, harsh judgment on yourself. Be gentle, be kind, be compassionate to the human struggle right now. And yet at the same time, call forward that courage that lies within you to know that your higher mind, self, heart, mind is there within you, and you can begin to live more and more from this place. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will tune in as close as I can to the beginning of March and give you another download of guidance and support from Trinity. Love and blessings to you, and take care.